Foundations of glass, the Mumbai skyline glittered like a jewel box against the evening sky as Dia Sharma stood on the balcony of the penthouse she had designed. Her fingers traced the edge of the champagne flute, while behind her, the sound of celebration filled the air. Another successful project launched for Sharma Developments, her husband Vikram's company. Though few knew how much of its success rested on her blueprints, there she is. The woman behind the man called out Rajiv Malhotra, one of the investors. Though I don't know why you insist on staying in the shadows, Dia. Your architectural designs are what makes Sharma Properties so distinctive. Dia offered a modest smile. At 35, she possessed a quiet elegance that complemented her sharp mind. 8 years ago, she'd been an award-winning architect with her own promising firm when she married Vikram. Gradually, she had set aside her own ambitions to support his vision, providing the designs that became his company's signature style while managing their expanding portfolio of investments. You know, Vikram needs the spotlight more than I do, she replied, her eyes finding her husband across the room. At 42, Vikram Sharma commanded attention with his tailored suit and practiced charm. He was holding court with Mumbai's elite, his hand occasionally brushing against the shoulder of his executive assistant, Nisha Kapoor. Dia noted the lingering touch but pushed the observation away. Tonight was a celebration of the Azure Heights project, the tallest residential tower in the city's eastern suburbs, and her most ambitious design yet. Still, Rajiv persisted, you should take some credit. Everyone in the industry knows Vikram couldn't have built this empire without your designs. The best architects understand that the foundation matters more than the nameplate. Dia responded, a philosophy that had guided her through years of supporting Vikram's ascent. Later that night, as their driver navigated through Mumbai's busy streets, Dia rested her head against the cool window glass. The Malhotras have committed to the Bandra project, she said. I finalized the deal during the party. Vikram barely looked up from his phone. Good. Their investment was crucial. I've been thinking, Dia continued, gathering courage. Maybe it's time I take a more public role in the company. Sustainable design division, I proposed. Could we've discussed this? Vikram interrupted. The market isn't ready for the investment those designs would require. Besides, our arrangement works perfectly. I handle the business, you handle the designs. Why complicate things? Dia fell silent. Their arrangement had become increasingly one-sided over the years. Her innovative sustainable architecture concepts remained in portfolios, while Vikram pursued flashier, more immediately profitable projects at home. Dia slipped into their bedroom while Vikram took a late business call. She opened a hidden panel in her closet and retrieved a small external hard drive. Connected to her laptop, it revealed financial statements for Verdant Architectonexa, small sustainable architecture and investment firm she had quietly established 3 years ago using her inheritance. While Vikram believed her family money had been exhausted supporting his early ventures, she had wisely kept a portion separate. The firm was growing steadily under the management of her old university friend, Rohan Mehra, brilliant and principled. Rohan had always believed in Dia's vision when others, including Vikram, dismissed her ideas as impractical, irregular. Business meetings had evolved into something more complex in recent months. Svikram's neglect left an expanding void in her heart. The following morning, Dia sat in her doctor's office, her hands trembling slightly as she processed the news. Congratulations, Mrs. Sharma. You're approximately 6 weeks pregnant. That evening, she prepared Vikram's favorite meal and set the dining table with care. When he arrived home, distracted and late as usual, she waited until they were seated before sharing her news. Vikram, I have something to tell you. We're going to have a baby. His fork paused midway to his mouth. Something flashed across his face. Not joy, but something closer to panic. A baby now? Are you sure? His voice was hollow. Yes, I'm sure. The doctor confirmed it today. She reached for his hand. This is wonderful news, isn't it? Vikram withdrew his hand and stood up abruptly. It's unexpected. I need to process this. I have some calls to make. He left the room, leaving Dia alone with the untouched celebration dinner. As she slowly cleared the plates, her phone buzzed with a message from Rohan. How did he take the news? Dia stared at the screen. A single, tears sliding down her cheek as she typed, "Exactly as we expected." What she didn't type was the growing certainty that the foundation of her marriage, like many of the glass towers they built, was beautiful but ultimately fragile. It's designed to shatter at the first real test of pressure. The fracturing, the morning sickness came with a cruel predictability that Dia had grown to anticipate. Kneeling on the cold bathroom tiles, she heaved into the toilet while Vikram moved around their bedroom, preparing for his day as though nothing had changed. 2 weeks had passed since she'd shared the news of her pregnancy, and the distance between them had expanded into a chasm. "I'll be late tonight," Vikram announced, adjusting his tie in the mirror. "The investors for the Juhu beachfront project. Want to discuss revised plans?" Dia rinsed her mouth and emerged from the bathroom. "Which revised plans?" "I haven't submitted any changes to the original design." Vikram avoided her eyes. "Nisha found an international firm that specializes in luxury beachfront properties. Their concept is more ... marketable." For 3 years, Dia had researched and developed plans for an environmentally responsible luxury development that would set new standards for coastal construction in Mumbai. "You're replacing my designs without even discussing it with me?" Her voice remained steady despite the hurt spreading through her chest. "It's business, Dia." Vikram finally turned to face her. "We need to maximize profit margins, not experiment with your eco-friendly concepts that drive up construction costs. Those experiments would save millions in energy costs over time and protect the coastline," she countered. "Our investors care about long-term sustainability, not just immediate returns." "Our investors care about whatever makes them money," Vikram snapped. "And right now, that's not your designs." He grabbed his briefcase. "The company needs to evolve, and frankly, so do you. This pregnancy is poor timing." Dia stood perfectly still as the implication of his words settled between them. "And what exactly is that supposed to mean? It means I'm at a critical point in my career? The company's expanding internationally? I need a partner who's focused on that vision, not distracted by ... domestic matters." The coldness in his voice confirmed what Dia had suspected for months. Their marriage had become nothing more than a business arrangement to him, and now it was one he no longer found valuable. "Is Nisha focused on your vision?" Dia asked quietly. Vikram's jaw tightened. "Nisha understands what it takes to succeed in this industry, I see." Dia turned away, unwilling to let him see the tears threatening to spill. "You should go. You're meeting." After Vikram left, Dia called Rohan. Their relationship had evolved from friendship to something more complex over the past year. Something neither of them had named, but both acknowledged in silent understanding. "He's replacing my designs," she said when Rohan answered. "And I think he's replacing me too." "Come to the office," Rohan replied without hesitation. "We need to talk about Verdant's latest proposal anyway." Verdant Architectonics occupied a modest space in a converted textile mill in Lower Peril, while Sharma Developments showcased opulence in their glass and chrome headquarters. Rohan and Dia had built Verdant on principles of sustainability and thoughtful design. The contrast between the two spaces reflected the growing divide in Dia's life. Rohan met her at the entrance, his tall frame and gentle eyes providing the comfort she desperately needed. At 37, he carried himself with a quiet confidence that had always drawn Dia to him. Even during their university days when they'd sketched building designs together late into the night, "I've been monitoring Sharma Development's financials," Rohan said once they were settled in his office. "Vikram's expansion plans are ambitious, but he's overextended. The foreign investors he's courting are skittish about the economic forecast. He wouldn't listen when I advised caution," Dia sighed. "But I didn't come here to discuss Vikram's business strategies." "No," Rohan agreed, his expression softening. "You came because your husband is an idiot who doesn't recognize what he has." Dia's laugh caught in her throat. "What happens now, Rohan?" "I'm pregnant, my marriage is collapsing, and my professional contributions are being erased." Rohan said, reaching across the desk to take her hand. "We accelerate our plans for Verdant. The sustainable housing initiative we've been developing has caught the attention of 3 major eco-investment groups. They're impressed with your designs and our business model. But I'm still legally tied to Sharma Developments. My contract, your Contract specifies that Sharma has first rights to your architectural designs, Rohan interrupted, not your business acumen or investment strategies. A week later, Dia returned home from a prenatal appointment to find Vikram waiting in the living room, an unfamiliar document on the coffee table between them. "What's this?" she asked, though she already knew. "Divorce papers," Vikram replied without emotion. "I've been generous with the settlement. The penthouse in Worli, a monthly allowance for you and the child, joint custody arrangements." Dia stared at him, this stranger who had once been her partner in every sense of the word. And what prompted this sudden generosity? "I think we both know this marriage has run its course," he said. "You'll be taken care of, Dia. I'm not a monster." "No," she agreed softly. "Just a man who's traded his soul for success." She picked up the papers. "I'll have my lawyer review these." 3 days later, Mumbai's business elite buzzed with gossip as photos surfaced of Vikram and Nisha at a private dinner. A week after that, she accompanied him to the Real Estate Developers Association gala, introduced as his partner. The whispers grew louder when Nisha was spotted wearing a distinctive diamond bracelet that Vikram had given Dia on their 5th anniversary. In their shared social circles, friends awkwardly navigated the separation. Most aligned themselves with Vikram's rising star, offering Dia sympathetic but distant smiles at the few events she attended. Only Priyanka Mathur, an old friend from architecture school, remained steadfastly by her side. "He's making a fool of himself," Priyanka said, as they sat in Dia's new apartment, smaller but entirely her own. "Parading that girl around like a trophy while his pregnant wife is discarded." "Ex-wife, soon enough," Dia corrected, her hand resting on her growing belly. "And I'm not discarded, Priya. I'm liberated." The following day, Dia met with her lawyer, Zara Irani, a formidable woman who specialized in high-profile divorces. "He's offering the Worli penthouse, monthly support, and joint custody," Zara summarized. "In exchange, he wants you to waive all claims to Sharma Development's assets, sign a non-compete clause that would prevent you from working in architectural design for luxury developments for 5 years. And if I don't agree to these terms," Zara's smile was sharp, "then we remind Mr. Sharma about certain investment decisions made early in your marriage. Decisions that, according to my research, show your financial contributions significantly outweighed his in those critical first years." Dia nodded, thinking of the documents safely stored with Rohana Vigilance, of how her inheritance had been the true foundation of Vikram's empire. Invested through a complex series of holdings that he had never fully understood. "One more thing," Dia said. "I want paternity testing excluded from any custody agreement." Zara raised an eyebrow, but asked no questions. "Consider it done." That night, as Dia lay in bed with her hands cradling her stomach, her phone lit up with a message from Rohan. "The Greenlight Fund approved our proposal. Full backing for the Eco-Village project. We're moving forward." For the first time in months, Dia smiled without reservation, while Vikram believed he was orchestrating her removal from the industry she loved. She was silently laying the groundwork for a return that would shake the very foundations he thought he controlled. Blueprints of vengeance. The monsoon season had arrived in Mumbai, sheets of rain transforming the city into a glistening maze of reflective surfaces. Dia watched water cascade down the windows of the courtroom as the judge finalized her divorce from Vikram. For months had passed since he'd first presented the papers, and her pregnancy now showed prominently beneath the elegant ivory silk of her kurta. Mrs. Sharma, or should I say Ms. Verma, now has agreed to revert to her maiden name, her lawyer, Zara stated, referring to the final point of the settlement. Across the courtroom, Vikram sat with his own legal team, his expression impassive. Nisha was absent, a small concession to propriety that surprised Dia. Their eyes met briefly as the judge signed the final documents. Where Dia had expected to see triumph in Vikram's gaze, she found only a fleeting uncertainty before he looked away. "The court approves the settlement as presented," the judge announced. "Ms. Verma retains the Worli property, receives the agreed-upon monthly allowance, maintains unrestricted custody of the child. Mr. Sharma waives all paternity claims and testing rights as stipulated. The non-compete clause regarding luxury architectural designs is limited to 2 years, rather than the requested 5, and exclude sustainable or environmental projects entirely. Vikram's lawyer leaned over to whisper something, but Vikram waved him off. He seemed eager to conclude the proceedings and escape the scrutiny of the small audience gathered in the courtroom, mostly business associates who had come to witness the dissolution of what had once been considered Mumbai's most successful power couple. Outside the courtroom, rain pounded against the pavement as Daya and Zara huddled under an umbrella. "You negotiated a much better settlement than most women in your position would have received," Zara observed, especially the revisions to the non-compete clause. "Vikram doesn't consider sustainable architecture a threat to his business," Dia replied. "That's his first mistake." Zara studied her client with newfound respect. "I've represented many women divorcing powerful men, but few have your strategic foresight. What's your next move now?" "I build something new." Dia glanced at her watch. "Speaking of which, I have a meeting to attend." 30 minutes later, Dia entered the sleek offices of Verdant Architectonics, now relocated to a renovated heritage building in Bandra. The receptionist guided her to the conference room, where Rohan waited with representatives from the Greenlight Fund and 2 other major eco-investment groups. "Perfect timing," Rohan said, rising to greet her. "We were just discussing the land acquisition for the Karjat project." Dia settled into the chair beside him, spreading her designs across the polished wooden table. "The hillside location provides ideal solar exposure, and our water conservation system will reduce consumption by 60% compared to traditional developments." Sunita Desai, the lead investor from Greenlight, leaned forward with interest. "And the profit margins?" "Lower initially," Daya acknowledged, "but sustainable over a longer period, with significantly reduced operating costs. Our financial projections show break-even at 3 years, with increasing returns thereafter as conventional energy costs rise." "What about competition from established developers? Sharma Developments, for instance?" asked another investor. "Sharma focuses on luxury for luxury's sake," Dia replied calmly. "Our approach addresses a different market segment, environmentally conscious professionals who want quality without ecological compromise. Besides, Vikram Sharma has overextended his resources with his international expansion." After the meeting, Rohan closed the conference room door, leaving them alone. "You were brilliant in there," he said. "They're fully committed now." Dia allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. "And the other matter?" "Handled," Rohan confirmed. "The independent audit of Sharma Development's early financing is proceeding quietly. The auditors have already identified several irregularities in how your personal investments were recorded, and they'll find more," Dia said with certainty. "Vikram was always careless with financial details. He trusted me to handle the paperwork in those early days." Rohan's expression grew serious. "Are you sure about this path, Dia? Once set in motion, there's no turning back." She placed her hand over his. "I'm not doing this out of spite, Rohan. Vikram built his success on my designs, my money, and my sacrifice. I'm simply reclaiming what's rightfully mine." As her pregnancy progressed, Dia maintained a deliberate public presence in Mumbai's business circles. She attended industry events, cultivated relationships with sustainable technology innovators, and quietly positioned Verdant Architectonics as a pioneer in eco-luxury development. All while Vikram, oblivious to her maneuvers, celebrated his newfound freedom with Nisha. The society pages documented their appearances at exclusive clubs and events, their relationship now openly acknowledged. Vikram had installed Nisha in a luxury apartment and promoted her to Director of International Relations for Sharma Developments, a position created specifically for her despite her limited experience. 6 weeks after the divorce, Daya received an invitation that made her pause: the annual Real Estate Development Federation Awards Gala. Traditionally, she had attended as Vikram's silent partner, standing in his shadow as he collected accolades for buildings she had designed. This year, the invitation was addressed solely to her, with a handwritten note from the chairperson. "Your contributions to innovative design deserve recognition in their own right." That evening, she called Priyanka for advice. "Of course you should go," her friend insisted. "Wear something spectacular and remind everyone that you're not just Vikram's ex-wife." but a visionary architect in your own right. He'll be there. With Nisha, Dia pointed out, it will be awkward. It's exactly why you must attend, Priyanka argued. Show everyone that you've emerged stronger. The night of the gala arrived with unseasonable clarity after weeks of monsoon rains. Dia chose a midnight blue gown that elegantly accommodated her 7-month pregnancy, adorned only with simple diamond earrings that had been her mother's. Rohan accompanied her, handsome in a tailored black suit, steady presence a counterpoint to her nervous energy. They arrived to find the venue transformed into a glittering showcase of architectural models and digital displays celebrating the year's most innovative projects. Vikram's newest development, the international hotel chain. He had mortgaged his company's future to finance dominated the central area. Beside it, in strategic contrast, stood a smaller but striking model, Verdant's Karjat Eco-Village, its design harmonizing with the natural landscape rather than dominating it. Your concept is drawing more attention than his, Rohan observed, as a group of international developers clustered around their display. Before Dia could respond, a familiar voice cut through the ambient noise. Dia, you look... Well. Vikram stood before them, Nisha clinging to his arm. His practiced smile faltered slightly as he took in Dia's composed appearance and the protective way Rohan positioned himself beside her. Vikram, Dia acknowledged with a polite nod. Congratulations on the hotel project. Very ambitious. Jakarta investors were impressed with the designs, he replied, then added with a hint of his old arrogance. Though I've had to make significant modifications to your original concepts. I'm sure you have, Dia said mildly. Some visions are too progressive for conventional thinking. Nisha shifted uncomfortably, her youth more apparent in the sophisticated gathering. The Federation Committee seems impressed with your little project, she offered, gesturing toward the verdant display with barely concealed condescension. Sustainable development is the future, Rohan interjected smoothly. Particularly with new environmental regulations set to impact traditional construction methods next year, Vikram's smile tightened. Regulations that can be navigated with the right connections, or embraced as opportunities by forward-thinking companies, Dia countered. The tension between them was interrupted by the Federation chairperson announcing the commencement of the award ceremony. As guests moved toward their assigned tables, Dia noticed several key investors from Vikram's Jakarta project engaged in serious conversation with representatives from the Greenlight Fund, exactly as she and Rohan had arranged. Phase 1 is in motion, Rohan whispered as they took their seats. Dia placed her hand over her belly, feeling her child shift within. And Phase 2 begins tomorrow, she replied, thinking of the audit results scheduled for release to Sharma Developments. Board of Directors revelations that would shake Vikram's empire to its core. As the awards presentation began, Dia observed Vikram across the room, still projecting confidence even as his financial foundation was being quietly dismantled. For a moment she felt a twinge of something like pity. He had never understood that true power lay not in flashy displays, but in the invisible structures that supported them, the foundations she had always excelled at building, and was now expertly dismantling. Demolition Datha, headline of the Mumbai Financial Chronicle screamed across the digital display on Dia's tablet. Sharma Developments faces investor exodus amid financial irregularities. She sipped her morning tea on the balcony of her Worli apartment, the Arabian Sea stretching before her like a canvas of possibility. 8 months pregnant now? She cradled her belly with one hand while scrolling through the article with the other. The story detailed how an independent audit had uncovered significant discrepancies in Sharma Development's financial records, dating back to its founding years. Most damning was the revelation that nearly 60% of the initial capital had come from unnamed private investors whose contributions had been improperly documented, a deliberate misrepresentation. 2 subsequent investors and the board of directors. Dia's phone rang. Priyanka's name flashed on the screen. Have you seen it? Shh, her friend asked without preamble. It's everywhere. Vikram's face, when he arrived at the office this morning, I wish you could have seen it. Complete shock. Priyanka, who worked for An architectural firm that occasionally collaborated with Sharma Developments had become Dia's eyes and ears in the industry. "How bad is the damage?" Dia asked. "The Jakarta hotel investors have suspended funding pending investigation. 3. Board members have resigned, and the share price dropped 20% in the first hour of trading." Priyanka paused. "This isn't just a setback, Dia. This could destroy everything he's built." "No," Dia corrected gently. "Everything we built. There's a difference." After ending the call, Dia opened her laptop to check the status of another critical piece of her strategy. Notification confirmed it. The patent for her innovative, sustainable cooling system technology she had developed years ago, but that Vikram had dismissed as commercially unviable, had been officially approved. The system, which reduced energy consumption by 40% in tropical climates, is now the exclusive intellectual property of Verdant Architectonics, a technology that Vikram had incorporated into his Jakarta hotel designs, leaving it belonged to Sharma Developments. Her phone rang again, Rohan this time. "It's happening exactly as we projected," he said when she answered. "The board has called an emergency meeting. Vikram is trying to blame the accounting firm, but the documentation trail leads directly to him. The signatures on those amended investment records are his, because he never read what he was signing," Dia confirmed. "He trusted me to handle the boring details, as he called them. The Jakarta developers have reached out to us," Rohan continued. "They want to discuss adapting our cooling system for their project." "How interesting," Dia replied, satisfaction warming her voice. "Considering they've already broken ground using my designs they now know they have no legal right to use." Rohan's tone held admiration for her foresight. "You've outmaneuvered him at every turn, Dia." Later that afternoon, Dia received an unexpected visitor. Her security guard called to announce that Nisha Kapoor was requesting to see her. Curious, Dia agreed to the meeting. Nisha appeared in the doorway looking significantly different from her usual polished self. Her designer clothes had been replaced by jeans and a simple blouse, her makeup minimal, her expression strained. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, as Dia invited her in. "I wasn't sure you would." "I admit I'm surprised by your visit," Dia replied, lowering herself carefully onto the sofa. "Please sit." Nisha perched on the edge of an armchair, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. "I suppose you've seen the news about Sharma Developments." "I have. Vikram is. He's not handling it well." Nisha glanced around the tastefully decorated apartment, Dia's own design, featuring sustainable materials and natural light. "He says you're behind it, that you manipulated the financial records before you left and timed the audit to coincide with the Jakarta project launch." Dia raised an eyebrow. "That would require remarkable foresight on my part, considering he was the one who initiated our divorce and removed me from the company." "I know," Nisha admitted. "That's partly why I'm here. I needed to understand." "Understand what exactly?" Nisha said simply. "You're nothing like he described. He said you were clingy, professionally jealous, that you resented his success." Dia couldn't help the small laugh that escaped her. "And yet here I am, building my own success, while his crumbles. What does that tell you about Vikram's assessment of people?" Nisha flinched. "He's changed since the audit results. He's angry all the time, suspicious. Last night he accused me of feeding information to you, or the auditors, and are you?" Dia asked mildly. "No, I had no idea about any of this." Nisha's voice dropped. "But now I'm wondering what else I don't know about him, about the company." She hesitated. "About you." Dia studied the younger woman thoughtfully. "Why did you come here, Nisha? Really?" "Because I thought I was in love with a visionary businessman who saw my potential," she answered. After a moment, "Now I'm afraid I've tied myself to a fraud who only saw a young woman who admired him." Her eyes filled with tears. "Because I owe you an apology. I knew he was married. I knew you were pregnant. You didn't break my marriage," Nisha Dia said gently. "Vikram did that long before you appeared. His ambition always mattered more than any relationship." As Nisha left, looking both relieved and more troubled than when she'd arrived, Dia reflected on the unexpected conversation. She had anticipated satisfaction from Vikram's downfall, but felt instead a complex mixture of vindication and something like closure. The following days brought a cascade of developments. The Mumbai Business Council suspended Vikram's membership pending investigation. The Jakarta hotel project was officially halted as investors scrambled to protect their investments. Most significantly, Sharma Development's board of directors voted to remove Vikram as CEO, appointing an interim leadership team to manage the crisis. 7 days after the audit results became public, Dia received another unexpected call, this time from Ajay Hiranandani, the chairman of Sharma Development's board. "Ms. Verma, I hope I'm not disturbing you," he began formally. "I'm calling because the board is exploring all options to salvage what remains of the company, and your name has come up repeatedly in our discussions." "In what context?" Dia asked, though she already knew. "The cooling system technology is critical to several of our ongoing projects," Ajay explained. "Projects that employed your architectural designs before your departure. We've been informed that Verdant Architectonics now holds the patents." "That's correct." "We would like to discuss licensing options," he continued, "or perhaps a more comprehensive arrangement between our companies." "Are you proposing a merger, Mr. Hiranandani?" "I'm proposing a conversation," he replied carefully. "One that recognizes your contributions to the company's past success and potential role in its future." After ending the call, Dia contacted Rohan immediately. "Sharma's board wants to discuss a merger," she told him. "They're desperate to access the cooling system patents." "This is sooner than we expected," Rohan observed. "Vikram must have truly burned through their cash reserves with that expansion." "Schedule the meeting for next week," Dia decided. "I want our full legal team present." And Rohan, "Make sure Vikram is required to attend." The meeting was set for the following Thursday. At Verdant's offices, a deliberate choice that forced the Sharma delegation to come to her territory. As the appointed time approached, Dia positioned herself at the head of the conference table, Rohan at her right hand, their legal team and key investors flanking them. The Sharma contingent arrived precisely on TMJ Hiranandani leading, followed by 3 board members and their legal counsel. Vikram entered last, his once commanding presence diminished by recent events. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his bespoke suit hung slightly loose on his frame, as though he'd lost weight rapidly, his gaze locked with Dia's across the table. Recognition dawned in his eyes, not just of her physical presence, but of the strategic mind he had always underestimated. For the first time, he was seeing her not as his supportive wife or the mother of a child he'd rejected, but as the architect of his downfall. "Thank you for joining us," Dia began, her voice steady and clear. "Shall we discuss the future of what we've all built?" Towers rising, the spring air carried the scent of jasmine as guests gathered for the inauguration of Harmony Heights, Verdant Architectonics' flagship residential complex in Pune. The structure rose from the hillside like a living organism terraced, gardens cascading down its facade, solar panels seamlessly integrated into curved roof lines. In a central courtyard featuring a rainwater collection system disguised as an artistic water feature, it was architecture that breathed with its environment rather than imposing upon it. Dia Verma stood near the podium, her 9-month-old daughter Anusha nestled against her shoulder. The child's wide eyes, so like her father, Rohan took in the surrounding activity with quiet curiosity. Behind them, a digital display showcased the journey from concept to completion, initial sketches, 3D renderings, construction milestones, and finally, the finished complex that had already won international acclaim for its revolutionary design. "Nervous?" Rohan asked, appearing at her side. His hand found the small of her back, a gesture of support that had become familiar over the past year. "Not nervous," Dia replied, "just reflecting on how much has changed." Indeed, the 18 months since the confrontation with Vikram and the Sharma Development's board had transformed both her professional and personal landscapes. The negotiation that day had ended not with a merger, but with a strategic acquisition. Verdant Architectonics purchasing controlling interest in what remained of Sharma Developments. With Dia installed as chairperson of the restructured entity, Vikram had been permitted to retain a minor stake and a position on the advisory board. decision that had surprised many, but which Dia had insisted upon. Complete destruction serves no one, she had told Rohan. Better to transform than to destroy entirely. The business press had initially framed the story as a scandalous coup, the scorned wife exacting revenge. But as Verdant's innovative projects gained recognition and profitability, the narrative shifted. Now Dia was celebrated as a visionary who had salvaged a failing company while pioneering sustainable architecture in a market hungry for environmental responsibility. Double quotes Mrs. Mara. Out, an assistant approached, interrupting her thoughts. We're ready. To begin the ceremony, Dia smiled at the use of her married name. She and Rohan had wed in a simple ceremony 3 months after Anusha's birth. With only close friends and family present, the society pages had speculated endlessly about the timing, but neither Dia nor Rohan had addressed the rumors. Some secrets remained theirs alone. As Dia handed Anusha to Rohan and stepped toward the podium, she spotted a familiar figure at the edge of the gathering. Vikram stood apart from the main crowd, thinner than she remembered, his posture less commanding. Their eyes met briefly before he nodded a gesture somewhere. Between acknowledgement and respect, she had heard through industry channels that he had relocated to Bangalore, starting a modest design consultancy after his reputation in Mumbai had become too damaged to overcome. Nisha had left him shortly after the Sharma Development's collapse, reportedly accepting a position with an international fashion house in Singapore. Dia took her place at the podium and surveyed the assembled guests and investors, environmental advocates, fellow architects, and residents who would soon occupy the sustainable living spaces she had designed. The journey to this moment had begun years ago, with sketches hidden in portfolios that Vikram had dismissed as impractical dreaming. Welcome to Harmony Heights, she began. What you see before you today represents more than a building, it represents a philosophy. The belief that progress and preservation need not be opposing forces. That luxury can be defined not by excess, but by balance. As she spoke, Dia's gaze swept across the audience, noting the attentive expressions of those who had supported her vision and those who had once doubted it. Near the back, she spotted Priyanka with her camera, documenting the moment for an architectural journal feature. Beside her stood Zara Irani, the lawyer who had helped Dia navigate her divorce and subsequent business maneuvers, now a trusted friend in Verdant's legal counsel. When I first conceived this design, I was told it was impossible, Dia continued. That buyers wouldn't pay premium prices for homes that prioritize sustainability over spectacle. That investors wouldn't back innovation when conventional approaches were safer. She gestured toward the structure behind her. Today, Harmony Heights stands fully sold before completion, with a waiting list for future phases. Our energy systems have been adopted by 3 municipal governments, and our investment partners have seen returns exceeding initial projections by 40%. The applause that followed validated not just her words, but the years of silent work that had preceded. Then the careful documentation of her contributions to Vikram's success, the strategic protection of her intellectual property, the patience to wait for precisely the right moment to reclaim her rightful place in an industry that had nearly erased her. After the ceremony, as guests toured the model apartments and rooftop gardens, Dia found a quiet moment with Rohan and Anusha in the building's central courtyard. The water feature burbled peacefully, filtering rainwater through a system that would supply much of the complex's non-potable water needs. I saw Vikram earlier, she mentioned, watching their daughter play with Rohan's keys. He looks ... diminished. Does that satisfy you? Rohan asked, not judgmentally, but with genuine curiosity. Dia considered the question. No, she answered honestly. What satisfies me is this. She gestured to encompass the building, their child, the life they had built together. Creation is always more fulfilling than destruction, even when destruction was necessary first. Sometimes, old structures must be dismantled before new ones can rise, she acknowledged. But the dismantling was never my goal, just a step in the process. Their conversation was interrupted by Ajay Hiranandani, approaching with several international investors eager to meet the woman behind Verdant's success. As Rohan took Anusha to visit the butterfly garden on the third-floor terrace, Dia engaged with the potential partners. Her quiet confidence, a stark contrast to the silent supporter she had once been in Vikram's shadow. Later that evening, as the celebration wound down, Dia found herself alone on the observation deck, overlooking the city lights of Pune. The door opened behind her, expecting Rohan. Instead, Vikram stood there, hesitating at the threshold. "May I join you?" Dia nodded, curious about what had prompted him to seek this private conversation after maintaining his distance throughout the event. He moved to stand beside her at the railing, maintaining a respectful space between them. For several moments, they observed the cityscape in silence. "It's remarkable," he finally said, gesturing toward the building around them. "What you've accomplished here." "Thank you," Dia replied simply. "I never saw it," Vikram continued, his voice carrying a note of realization that seemed to surprise even him. "All those years I never truly saw what you were capable of. You saw what you expected to see." Dia responded without bitterness, supportive wife, a background figure, while I was the one in your shadow, not the other way around. He turned to face her directly. "I've had a lot of time to reflect since ... everything. I've realized how much I misunderstood about business, about partnership." He paused. Dia studied his face, the lines of stress and humility that hadn't been there during their marriage. "What have you learned?" "That true strength doesn't announce itself," he answered. "It builds foundations while others are designing facades." Small smile touched Dia's lips at the architectural metaphor. "And what will you build now, Vikram? Something smaller? Something honest?" He glanced away, then back to her. "To tell you, I'm grateful you didn't destroy me completely when you could have. Leaving me that advisory position, allowing me to retain some dignity, was more mercy than I deserved." "It wasn't mercy," Dia corrected him. "It was strategy. Your experience still has value, even if your leadership approach didn't." Vikram nodded, accepting this assessment.
The child,
She has his eyes. The observation startled Dia. She had never confirmed her daughter's paternity, though the timing of her pregnancy and her subsequent marriage to Rohan had fueled inevitable speculation. "Anusha has her own eyes," she replied diplomatically, "and her future will be entirely her own as well." Understanding the boundary she had drawn, Vikram stepped back. "I should go. I just wanted to ... acknowledge what you've built, to apologize. Though I know words are inadequate." As he turned to leave, Dia called after him. "Vikram." He paused. "We all make choices based on what we value most," she said. "Your values led you one way. Mine led me another. There's no need for apologies. Now just for each of us to continue forward on our own paths." After he departed, Dia remained on the observation deck, watching as the lights of Pune twinkled against the door. She thought about the journey that had brought her here from the brilliant young architect who had subordinated her dreams to her husband's ambition, to the woman who had reclaimed not just her professional identity but her personal power. The door opened again. This time it was Rohan who joined her, Anusha sleeping peacefully against his shoulder. "Everything all right?" he asked, noting her contemplative expression. "I saw Vikram leave." "Everything is exactly as it should be," Dia assured him, reaching out to gently stroke their daughter's cheek. "We were just acknowledging the past so we can fully embrace the future." Rohan shifted Anusha to one arm, using his free hand to pull that close. "What does that future hold, Architect Mera?" Dia smiled, leaning into his embrace as she gazed out at the horizon where new projects and new possibilities awaited. Structures yet unimagined, foundations yet unbuilt, and spaces where all of us can grow together. Above them, the first stars appeared in the evening sky, their light reflecting off the innovative materials of Harmony Heights, a building designed not just to impress but to endure. It's just like the woman who had created it, emerging from silence into her full, powerful voice